Hey, it's YB here with the man at Showtime, Stephen Espinoza. And how is the turnout here in San Antonio, and what do you expect tomorrow for Mark Maxeo versus Ray Vargas?
You know, turnout in San Antonio is always fantastic. It's great here. We had an overflow crowd at the weigh-in, and that's not surprising at all. San Antonio is a great fight town. They turn out and really support the sport. I mean, every time, you know, I get in a taxi or an Uber here, you know, the driver's talking about the fight this weekend. Everyone's aware of it. You know, and it helps. We've got some, you know, local people on the card as well. So look, I think it's going to be an action-packed card. I think, you know, interested in seeing everything from a prospect like RASHIDI ELLIS, you know, all the way through the 3 fights on Showtime.
And with RASHIDI ELLIS, what would be the plan? I know he called out Boots Ennis, but realistically, after this fight, how many fights do you think he would need to get back in the flow of things before he fights a guy like Boots Ennis?
Yeah, he hasn't probably been as active as he'd like to be. And look, I think, you know, I think Boots has his sights set on a title, or at least, you know, putting himself in a mandatory position. So, you know, not that he's avoiding Ellis, but I think he's got his sights set on, you know, getting a title in the next fight or two. But I think, you know, RASHIDI ELLIS needs to continue, you know, beefing up his resume, you know, developing, moving up in the rankings, you know, and that's the way to make sure that people fight you whether or not they want to.
And speaking of Boots Ennis, how soon would you like him to return to the ring, or is he still waiting on the resolution between Bud Crawford and Errol Spence?
Well, you know, that's part of it. You know, Spence Crawford is like one of those dominoes to fall, but I think everyone's sort of hoping that that's going to get done. So we're looking at, you know, other fights for Ennis, you know, something that's going to put him in a position for either a secondary title or put him in line to be the mandatory. You know, I think there's some good fights out there. You know, a lot of them have been talked about. I think we will see him back before the end of the year, and it's really about securing the best opponent that's going to put him in the best position to get a title fight.
And what about him versus Stanionis, or is there likelihood of him versus Keith Thurman?
I mean, I love both of those fights. You know, we're not specifically in negotiations on either one, you know, right now. But I think the reality is those make sense. Stanionis makes sense. You know, a guy like Thurman obviously would make a lot of sense. You know, there are others as well, but, you know, a guy like Thurman, a guy like Stanionis, the one thing they've proven through their whole careers, they'll fight anybody. So, you know, it's been tough getting Boots fights. It's been that way for a couple years because people recognize the skill level. But the reality is, you know, guys like Thurman, Stanionis, they don't hesitate to fight anybody.